Olive oil is a fat obtained from the olive, a traditional tree crop of the Mediterranean basin. The oil is produced by pressing whole olives and is commonly used in cooking, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and soaps, and as a fuel for traditional oil lamps. Olive oil is used throughout the world and is often associated with Mediterranean countries. History. Early cultivation. The olive tree is native to the Mediterranean basin. Wild olives were collected by Neolithic peoples as early as the 8th millennium BC. The wild olive tree originated in Asia Minor or in ancient Greece. It is not clear when and where olive trees were first domesticated. In Asia Minor, along the Levantine coast stretching from the Sinai Peninsula and Israel to historic Armenia, or somewhere in the Mesopotamian Fertile Crescent. Archaeological evidence shows that olives were turned into olive oil by 6000 BC and 4500 BC in present-day Israel. Until 1500 BC, eastern coastal areas of the Mediterranean were most heavily cultivated. Evidence also suggests that olives were being grown in Crete as long ago as 2500 BC. The earliest surviving olive oil amphora date to 3500 BC, though the production of olive oil is assumed to have started before 4000 BC. Olive trees were certainly cultivated by the late Minoan period in Crete, and perhaps as early as the early Minoan. The cultivation of olive trees in Crete became particularly intense in the post-Palatial period and played an important role in the island's economy, as it did across the Mediterranean. Recent genetic studies suggest that species used by modern cultivators descend from multiple wild populations, but a detailed history of domestication is not yet forthcoming. History and trade. Olive trees and oil production in the eastern Mediterranean can be traced to archives of the ancient city-state Ebla, which were located on the outskirts of the Syrian city Aleppo. Here some dozen documents dated 2400 BC describe lands of the king and the queen. These belong to a library of clay tablets perfectly preserved by having been baked in the fire that destroyed the palace. A later source is the frequent mentions of oil in the Tanakh. Dynastic Egyptians before 2000 BC imported olive oil from Crete, Syria and Canaan, and oil was an important item of commerce and wealth. Remains of olive oil have been found in jugs over 4,000 years old in a tomb on the island of Naxos in the Aegean Sea. Sinai, the Egyptian exile who lived in northern Canaan about 1960 BC, wrote of abundant olive trees. Besides food, olive oil has been used for religious rituals, medicines, as a fuel in oil lamps, soap making, and skin care application. The Minoans used olive oil in religious ceremonies. The oil became a principal product of the Minoan civilization, where it is thought to have represented wealth. The Minoans put the pulp into settling tanks and, when the oil had risen to the top, drained the water from the bottom. Olive tree growing reached Iberia and Etruscan cities well before the 8th century BC through trade with the Phoenicians and Carthage. Then was spread into southern Gaul by the Celtic tribes during the 7th century BC. The first recorded oil extraction is known from the Hebrew Bible and took place during the Exodus from Egypt, during the 13th century BC. During this time, the oil was derived through hand-squeezing the berries and stored in special containers under guard of the priests. A commercial mill for non-sacramental use of oil was in use in the tribal confederation and later in 1000 BC, the Fertile Crescent, an area consisting of present-day Palestine, Lebanon, and Israel. Over 100 olive presses have been found in Tel Mikna, where the biblical Philistines also produce oil. These presses are estimated to have had output of between 1,000 and 3,000 tons of olive oil per season. Many ancient presses still exist in the eastern Mediterranean region, and some dating to the Roman period are still in use today. Olive oil was common in ancient Greek and Roman cuisine. According to Herodotus, Apollodorus, Plutarch, Pausanias, Ovid and other sources, The city of Athens obtained its name because Athenians considered olive oil essential, preferring the offering of the goddess Athena over the offering of Poseidon. The Spartans and other Greeks used oil to rub themselves while exercising in the gymnasia. From its beginnings early in the 7th century BC, the cosmetic use of olive oil quickly spread to all of the Hellenic city-states, together with athletes training in the nude, and lasted close to 1,000 years despite its great expense. Olive trees were planted throughout the entire Mediterranean basin during evolution of the Roman Republic and Empire. According to the historian Pliny the Elder, Italy had excellent olive oil at reasonable prices by the 1st century AD, the best in the Mediterranean. He maintained the importance and antiquity of olive oil can be seen in the fact that the English word oil derives from c. 1175, olive oil, from Anglo-fr, and onfr, oli, from ofr, oil, from l, oleum, oil, olive oil, from gk, lion, olive tree, which may have been borrowed through trade networks from the Semitic Phoenician use of elion meaning superior, probably in recognized comparison to other vegetable or animal fats available at the time. Robert Lane Fox suggests that the Latin borrowing of Greek elion for oil is itself a marker for improved Greek varieties of oil-producing olive, already present in Italy as Latin was forming, brought by Euboean traders, whose presence in Latium is signaled by remains of their characteristic pottery from the mid-8th century. Varieties. There are many different olive varieties or olives, each with a particular flavor, texture, and shelf life that make them more or less suitable for different applications such as direct human consumption on bread or in salads, indirect consumption in domestic cooking or catering, or industrial uses such as animal feed or engineering applications. Production and consumption. In 2013, world production of virgin olive oil was 2.8 million tons, a 20% decrease from the 2012 world production of 3.5 million tons. Spain produced 1.1 million tons or 39% of world production in 2013. 75% of Spain's production derives from the region of Andalusia, particularly within Jaén province, which produces 70% of olive oil in Spain. In the town of Carrillo, Jaén is the world's largest olive oil mill, capable of processing 2,500 tons of olives per day. Although Italy is a net importer of olive oil, it produced 442,000 tons in 2013, or 16% of the world's production. Major Italian producers are known as Città dell'Olio, oil cities, including Lucca, Florence and Siena, in Tuscany. The largest production, however, is harvested in Apulia and Calabria. Greece accounted for 11% of world production in 2013. Australia now produces a substantial amount of olive oil. Many Australian producers only make premium oils, while a number of corporate growers operate groves of 1 million trees or more and produce oils for the general market. Australian olive oil is exported to Asia, Europe and the United States. In North America, Italian and Spanish olive oils are the best known, and top-quality extra virgin olive oil from Italy, Spain, Portugal and Greece are sold at high prices, often in prestige packaging. A large part of U.S. olive oil imports come from Italy, Spain, and Turkey. The United States produces olive oil in California, Arizona, and Texas.